Okay, so much like what happened in the Watership Down review, I need to give a few warnings about today's topic. First off, this is not a review of the book, mostly the end of the movie with reference to the book. This choice is made because of the sheer size of the book and the fact the movie has the original ending Richard Adams intended for the story to have. While I'll be looking over more points in the book, please note that the focus will be on the 1982 movie. As well, while I was researching the book, I realized this video would overlap somewhat with another analysis done in the form of a drawing. Said picture is titled, "The Plague Dogs Does Have a Happy Ending by Nostalgic Chills," an artist I love quite a bit. While I'll be going over and examining my points differently than the art piece, I would feel horrible if I didn't credit this brilliant piece of art. So I will put a link in the description below to the art and the artist and ask you all to take a look at it. Second, this review will contain scenes of blood, death, maulings, and generally almost all forms of animal neglect and experimentation. If these things do make you feel queasy, then this may not be the video for you. This is your only warning on what will come content-wise. And last but not least, third, this is not a clickbait title. This is not a joke, not a fake out, not a lie. The ending of The Plague Dogs, the original ending found in the movie, is a happy one. One that, in my opinion, was better than the adjusted one made in the book copies that can be found today. For those who wish to see what I mean and why we wanted Adams to change it as he did, let's dive into the dark world of The Plague Dog. Hello everyone, and welcome to Wolf Tales, where literature runs wild. I just like to take a quick second and say thank you for all the feedback you gave me during the survey time. It has been really good to look over and get a chance to see how we can make the channel better, and your comments have really touched mine and all the team's heart. So thank you so much again. While the suggestions will mostly be covered over in next year's set of videos, they can still help us plan for the future videos of the channel and help us find some brilliant gems. And speaking of gems, let's look at this bloody, beautiful, and brilliant favorite of mine, The Plague Dogs. Published in 1977, The Plague Dog focuses on the story of two escaped lab dogs, Rolf the Black Monger and Snare the Fox Terrier. Through a series of events, they do their best to survive in a cruel and barren world in the park while interacting with the local citizens. Gaining allies like Todd the Fox and running from the ever-present white coats, Rolf and Snare go to extreme lengths to survive. As time passes, we see how the dogs affect the scientists, government, and civilians, as well as the conversation made about animal experimentation. Things take a turn for the absolute worst when a fake news piece comes out that the dogs are carrying the plague, and soon the dogs meet their ultimate fate. The movie is fairly faithful, with some of the side stories and characters removed to condense it, many of which are surprisingly more horrific than in the movie itself. We hardly knew you, Jim Jam and Kiff. However, where the movie and book differ the most is their ending. The dogs living in the book and drowning in the movie. Yet it is the movie that is actually more faithful than the book because it has the original ending Richard Adams intended. This already gives it a gold star in my books, besides the just overall great performance the movie did as a whole. For a while, many have debated a lot on what the ending means. Some claiming that they make it to the island, some claiming that the island is heaven and they died in the water, and some say that they got shot in the water and the mist is their spirits continue on to heaven, and the list goes on and on. But the fact to go on of all of these theories is that Richard Adams believed that the drowning ending to be the best ending, despite what everyone said at the time, and honestly, I agree. So many may ask me in that case, why am I claiming this is the happy ending? Why am I claiming that seeing two dogs drown in the ocean is better than seeing them go off to a new family? Well, that's what we're here to discuss today. Using the 5 stages of grief, we are going to go over not only the significance of the ending, but why most people are so against the real ending. With that said, let's start our little trip down grief lane by looking at how Adam uses denial as a literary tool. Denial is a thing we do when most of us want to avoid a hard truth about something. I'm not failing in school, the teachers are out to get me. Fluffy's not dead, he's just at a farm. We use denial as both a shield and a reflector of consequences which can make things so much worse. As seen in the story, most characters in the book use it for said purposes. The ARSE scientists like Boycott deny the dogs have escaped to keep their record clean. The citizens deny accountability for letting the facility be made to ignore the truth of the cruelty being done there. Even Rolf denies that there are any masters at all to avoid the idea that people can be good after everything he's been through. While Snitter denies that all people are bad because he can't believe there are no more masters after the good one he had. Heck, Rolf himself even uses denial in the end, which we'll go over soon, to try and tell Snitter white lies to keep him calm when his hallucinations are getting worse. Because of this, denial almost becomes like another character there waiting to test all who interact with these horrible events, which includes the audience themselves. We as the audience know that the real world sucks in one way or another. To get through this crushing reality that everything is bad, we usually find ways to distract ourselves with, well, happier distractions. Games, TV shows, and books usually fill that void, but in Plague Dogs' case, Adams is actively pushing the horrible reality right in our faces. This, for the most part, results in us denying the clear signs that the animals are bound for a tragic fate and instead believe that maybe all will be well. But the reality is we unconsciously are believing this because the issue is out of our hands and there's no point in trying to fix it because it's a story set in stone. Yet Adam uses a mentality to show that the further you dive into this tale and stand idly by, the more damage is done to the dogs. That by standing in this ignorant denial, we the audience are letting this happen. Just like how in the real world, many people stand idly by while cosmetic animal testing, for example, still happens. It is only when we stop denying the bad ending that we face the truth that the book tells of the fates of these characters. The dogs die, the scientists are never arrested, and Snar's owner is dead and never coming back to save him. This, understandably, leads people to be incredibly angry at the author for subjecting them to this mess, yet they seem to not ask the big question, why are we angry at the author? I mean, on the surface it makes sense, right? This guy spends 103 minutes making us watch animals get shot at, starved, in pain, and experimented on, and we're supposed to praise him? He must be a horrible monster who hates animals and wishes to make us cry, right? Wrong. Richard Adams doesn't hate animals. Richard Adams was an animal activist. Richard Adams was not only the head of the RESPCA and friends with naturalists, but he had a real soft spot for animals. Because of this passion, Adams used his work to often voice and speak out about many horrors animals go through, like in this topic. And what better way to bring up these topics than writing a text that makes audience ask one simple question? Why? Why do we have to keep constantly drowning a dog over and over again? Why cut into the conscious and the unconscious mind of a simple little terrier? Why keep a social creature in a social deprivation chamber? Why are these needed to be done in the first place, and what are their purpose? So many questions lead in this book to answers many of us not like to hear or left unanswered, which sparks the emotions Adam was trying to convey in his text. Pure, unbridled anger. Anger is a natural response to seeing something unfair or unjust. We see a dog being attacked and we wish to see the real or figment entity be ripped to shreds. We see people experimenting on animals for no reason and get away almost scot-free, and we want to kill. However, this is a tale being shown to us and we know we're powerless to stop it. It's written in stone on pages on the book. We can't fix that. So how do we sell our anger about seeing what's on screen or in the book? Well, we wait for the happy ending where justice is served. Even if the ending seems unbelievable or unattainable without a sacrifice or is too campy, so long as karma is served and good wins, everything's fine. The satisfaction of seeing karma come for those who deserve it is brilliant, especially when it doesn't always happen in real life. So when the author removes that karma that should have happened, well, our frustrations go right to the author. We yell, we kick, we scream at someone who made us see all of these horrible things, but often forgot this was done for a reason. So when we come to terms with this fact and let our anger settle, we start to wish things would be different. Oftentimes by doing the one last thing we can think of, bargaining for a better ending in our minds. In the movie, Rolf and Snare make deals with Todd repeatedly in order to survive. While this may just seem like a plot point the author wants to use to move the plot along, if we look closer, we see it's not that simple. The reality of these actions isn't just a deal between two groups of characters, but more the story/audience and a hope for a happy ending. The Todd knows that they are going to die. The dogs have no skills, are desperate, and knows that the man can track them very easily. Todd exploits them for his own purposes, making him, for a while, much like the Whitecoats until his redemption in the end. Why we're not mad at the Todd like we are at the Whitecoats, however, is because he is at least helping them make it through the story. That is the bargain we and the dogs make to ensure their survival. So long as the Todd, and therefore the author, delivers on his promise of good ends for the dogs, he can do whatever he wants. For the most part, the story follows a pattern of the Todd helps them, the dog gets better. The Todd disappears, the dogs get worse. So we and the dogs become dependent on the Todd in order to reach that ideal ending. But then, when the Todd sacrifices himself in the end to save the dogs one last time, we also see our last chance of hope killed with him. By having this bargain for a guaranteed ending take away, we as an audience feel like we should confront Adams about this treachery. And guess what? We do. In the rewritten edits of the book, Richard Adams plays out a conversation with him and a personification of the audience. While it does seem peaceful between the two, I always saw it a little differently. Adams isn't saying how horrible he feels about writing it or how sorry he is. He simply says, "This is a story I intended, and this is a story I will tell." Even when he gives the reader their ending, he explains it was made by spells and magic. That it normally wouldn't happen this way, and only in the realms of fiction was it achieved. With this in mind, this ending is less like a real ending and like a white lie you tell those unwilling to hear the truth. Like I said in Denial, we don't always tell kids that their pets are dead, we say that they went to a farm. Our goal with this kind of lie isn't meant to be mean, but it's to make the painful realities sting less. In relation to the conversation, Adam recognizes for some of us, this is too much. He knows that they are not ready to accept what really happened in the end and gives them the fake ending to tide them over. Heck, he even made sure that it was in the epilogue, a section of the story not necessarily needed, but there for those who wish to read it. And what do we see in the end? Why, Adam seems to hint that the dogs are already dead in this one too. Look at the last lines of the section of the epilogue. The lights of Kunsten shine out in the darkness, and beyond, the lake glimmers, a mere streak of gray between invisible shores. The darkness? Didn't Todd mention that the darkness was death and it came for everyone? And yet, the darkness is still here, at the end of the supposed good ending. This clearly shows Adam explains that the dogs have faced death no matter where they go, and we will see it whether it's in the cold reality ending or the happy, fluffy transition to heaven ending. The movie plays this out well with the song Time and Tide playing over foggy, invisible island, with Rolf and Snare disappearing forever. We can't bargain our way out of this truth. We can't make any deal that can get us around the issue. And we're left to sit and come to terms with the fact that everything has happened, as we too are consumed by a sea of depression. Depression or grief about this situation is common for anyone to feel. I mean, I like dark literature as much as the next person, but as a pet owner, my heart sinks every time I see this tale. And the more I think over the reality of the situation, the more I feel like I'm drowning even more grief as I realize this is all real. Every experiment featured in this book has been experimented on a real animal in real life. Electrocution till death, new chemical sprays, blinding, poison consumption, throat surgery, smoking cigarettes, and so many more. While some of these experiments may be necessary for medical tests, cosmetics are a whole other story. Many of these cosmetic experiments are incredibly painful for animals and unnecessary, which is why they're the focus of Adam's work. Even Rolf saying it must do some sort of good is said to get the audience to wonder, why are these practices even needed? As we see more and more needless experiments done, we realize this is cruelty for no purpose, which makes the end of the book even more sad. These animals start off the story in pain, continue in pain, and die in pain. We see no light for them or peace as they continue on in their quest for a master, and by the time the fog rolls in, it's too late for any of them. So to avoid the pain of facing what we just read, we labeled the book too dark, horrible, or just plain sad, when the reality is, it's a fact of life. Bad things can happen to good people. And for some, this is where they may have stopped looking over the movie or ended here for the book. But the fact is, there is one thing a lot of people seem to forget to cover when examining this work. The good part of the ending, and the other truth Adam tries to teach. The acceptance of the dark, and then the hope for a brighter future. Hope is not an easy thing to come by in this world. War, famine, disease, violence makes it hard to find any light in such a depressing place as ours. However, hope for the future, however small, can do wonders for a person. In The Plague Dogs, this hope is personified by Snitter himself. Despite everything he sees, Snitter keeps his hopes up for a good chunk of the movie. Through his actions and his presence, he affects a lot around him for the good, and inspires characters like Todd and Rolf to do better. And then, when Snitter does look like he's losing hope that anything will change, he's given that hope back again by the very people he inspired throughout the story, Todd and Rolf. Todd, who's been selfish through most of the film, is strangely heroic in his sacrifice to let the dogs escape the valley. Rolf, who has trauma with water, dives head first into staying with his friend and comforting him in his final moments. Rolf would rather comfort his friend by lying about seeing an island than carry on being cynical as he has throughout the whole movie about Snitter's visions. So he plays along so Snitter can die with dignity and hope. But it's not just through our canine friends that we see the spread of hope. By Snitter, and therefore hope, being shown to the citizens in the valley, conversations start to be made and people start to question. And as they start to question, they start to stand up for these animals and include some of the scientists and military officers in this idea. And as they stand up for them in the end, their demand for the truth leads to the termination of ARSE and the liberations of the animals inside it. And this right here, my viewers, is the true happy ending of Plague Dogs. Hope for a better future to come. While it's hard to see all this happen, seeing the good that comes from these characters passing is brilliant. That while 2 characters get a happy ending in heaven, the rest of the animals at the laboratory can live better, more pain-free lives. Heck, though it took many years, the real-life UK actually did ban animal testing for cosmetics in 1997, and 40 countries have followed suit. By people facing the horrible fact of animal testing and working hard to put an end to it, change can happen for those who hold on to hope. When we lose hope, however, and just accept things how they are, we're denying ourselves change for a better future. We get frustrated at the events happening but do nothing to stop them in real life or fiction. We bargain with our consciousness about how things couldn't be as bad as they really are in order for some peace of mind. We become desperate about how things will never change or just how broken things are, and for some, this cycle never stops as we go right back to denial. But if we follow what this wonderful story teaches, to accept the bad things in life and strive for a better future, then true change can happen, which includes this work. Yes, it is sad the way the dogs went and what they had to go through to end off in heaven. But think about it this way. Like the song says, they feel no pain no more. They will never be experimented on, never beaten, starved, shot at, or face any cruelty man or nature can throw at them. They are free to live in the afterlife as they should have in this life, in peace with those who love them. Snare can see his old owner, Rolf can see his mother, and they can both run through the countryside with Todd. They never need to look over their shoulder or face the trauma they experienced in the laboratory. They died fighting for what they believed in, free from the clutches of man, and died how they wanted. Finally getting a say in their life, even if it was at the very end. As for us, we can take what we learn here and with the knowledge fight for a better future free from pain for both animals and humans alike. To find a way, even if it is small, to do better for animals and people, like showing kindness to strangers or adopting animals from a shelter, or even cutting back on our eco-footprint. If we all hold on to that hope that we can work towards a brighter future, one day we will reach those distant shores of hope. And I don't know about you, but I think that's a pretty happy ending in my eyes. One I think Rolf, Snitter, and the Todd would agree way up on those clouds, where they're free and they feel no pain no more. And that was Plague Dogs. What do you all think? Am I stretching this idea of a happy ending, or am I onto something? Let me know in the comments below. And remember to like and subscribe to the channel to let me know what you like and to see more to come. Man, I gotta admit, I gotta cover something happier next month. I keep covering these really heavy topics that I think I'm gonna get flattened by them like a pancake soon. So for next month, why don't we go over a different kind of movie? A movie that's going to be out in public next month and involves dragons, trust, and looking over with an old draconic friend of mine. For now, this has been Silver Starling. See you next time you want to run with the pack.